The hum of the deep space station was steady, a background rhythm the crew no longer noticed. The engineers of Outpost Vega 6 were used to the silence of the void, broken only by the thrum of power lines and the faint vibrations of the docking bays cycling ships in and out. It was a normal day, or so it seemed, until the scream came. It tore through the intercom without warning. A garbled, high-pitched wail that rose and fell like broken glass dragged across steel. The sound was not human, not mechanical either. It carried something raw, something desperate, like the cry of a drowning voice echoing across a black sea. For a moment, everyone in the bay froze. Then alarms blared. Red lights flashed. The docking doors sealed with a heavy clang. The scream ended in a crackle of static, followed by the echo of gasping breaths. "Docking Bay 3," shouted Chief Engineer Rowan, his voice sharp. "Move. Now." 5 engineers sprinted down the corridor, boots pounding against the metal floor. Their helmets bounced against their chests as they ran, the air tense with the unknown. When the doors slid open, the sight before them stopped them cold. A figure lay collapsed on the deck plates, thin arms trembling, clutching something against her chest. Her skin shimmered faintly under the emergency lights, a pale bluish hue with a faint glow like moonlight caught in water. Her hair, long and silver white, was plastered against her forehead with sweat. An alien girl. Her chest rose and fell in shallow gasps. Sparks flew from the device in her hand, a small metallic cube, glowing with blue lines that flickered and died like a heartbeat losing its rhythm. "Medic!" Rowan barked. The nearest crew member, Mason, knelt beside her. He reached for the cube. It hummed weakly, its light fighting to stay alive. As his fingers brushed against it, a burst of static filled the bay. The girl's lips moved. Words spilled out, but they were broken, twisted. "Shah, Keth, Uha, Ven." The sounds were sharp, guttural, like shards of a language no one knew. Mason frowned, tightening his grip on the cube. "Translator," he guessed. The girl's wide violet eyes flicked open. Fear and pain swam inside them. She tried again, clutching at Mason's sleeve, her voice shaking. "V.A.L. Dro. Sa." Rowan knelt beside them. "Do we have any idea what she's saying?" "No," Mason muttered. He tapped the cube, looking for a reset switch. "Device looks fried. Might be her translator. Without it." The girl coughed, the sound wet and painful. The cube sputtered one final burst of blue light, then died completely in Mason's hands. The alien girl's eyes widened with panic. She opened her mouth, desperate, and spoke again. This time, no static. No machine. Just her voice. A single word. The engineers didn't recognize it. None of them spoke that tongue. But the sound of it hit them like a hammer to the chest. It carried weight, age, and power, as if the word itself had been spoken for thousands of years, long before the station, long before their time. For a heartbeat, the entire crew froze. The bay seemed to go silent, even the alarms dimming in their ears. Mason's throat tightened. He didn't know why, but the word felt familiar. Like something he had read long ago, hidden in the corners of old Earth myths. The girl collapsed against him, unconscious. Rowan was the first to move, snapping out of the spell. "Get her to Med Bay. Now." 2 crew members lifted her gently. Mason stayed kneeling, staring down at the dead cube in his hand. It was warm, humming faintly, as if the device itself had secrets buried inside. "What was that word she said?" whispered one of the engineers as they hurried out. No one answered. No one could. They carried her through the sterile halls of the station, past white panels glowing with emergency lights. The med bay hissed open, and the medical officer rushed forward with scanners and equipment. Tubes were connected, monitors flickered to life, and the alien girl lay still on the bed, her silver hair fanned out across the sheets. Mason stood at the edge of the room, the cube clutched tightly in his hand. He couldn't shake the sound of that word. He turned it over, examining the fine lines etched into the metal. Not alien. Not the twisting glyphs of other species he had studied. These markings were clean, geometric lines, circles, spirals. Something about them felt eerily human. "Report," Rowan demanded. The medic shook his head. Her vitals are unstable. The translator's failure stressed her system. It looks like she was relying on it to communicate and stabilize neural feedback. Without it, she's crashing. Rowan looked at Mason. Can you fix it? Mason swallowed, his eyes on the cube. Maybe. But it's not like any translator I've seen before. It's old. Very old. Rowan frowned. Old? Yeah, Mason said quietly, running his thumb over the markings. Like it doesn't belong to her. Like it's borrowed. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Then, without warning, the alien girl stirred. Her hand twitched. Her lips parted, and again, she whispered that word. The same word as before. The lights in the med bay flickered. The monitors beeped sharply. Even the cube in Mason's hand pulsed with a faint glow, as if responding. The hair on the back of his neck stood up. Rowan leaned closer, whispering, "What the hell is that language?" Mason didn't answer. He couldn't. All he knew was this. Whatever she had spoken didn't belong to her species. It didn't belong to any alien tongue. It belonged to them. To humans. And somehow, impossibly, it was older than human history itself. The cube sat on Mason's workbench, dark and silent. Its faint blue lines no longer glowed. Around it, the engineers gathered in uneasy silence, the alien girl's weak breathing still echoing from the medbay down the hall. Mason leaned forward, hands steady but heart racing. He had taken apart hundreds of devices in his career, human, alien, hybrid, but never anything like this. The cube didn't just look old. It felt old, as if time itself had pressed its weight into the metal. He clicked on a lamp. The white light washed across the device, revealing carvings too precise for normal tools. Lines that bent into circles, spirals that fed into triangles, repeating symbols that whispered of meaning just out of reach. Rowan hovered behind him. "Can you fix it?" Mason didn't look up. "I can try. But Chief, this thing isn't just broken hardware. It's hiding something." Rowan's jaw tightened. "You're guessing." "I'm not," Mason said. He tapped the markings with a stylus. "These aren't her people's designs. Not even close. They look," he hesitated, searching for the right word. "Familiar." The others shifted uncomfortably. Nobody wanted to say it out loud. Hours passed. The station's hum grew louder in Mason's ears as he pried open the cube, piece by delicate piece. Inside was a maze of crystal filaments and thin metallic veins that pulsed faintly when touched. Every connection seemed woven together like a living web. "Careful," Rowan muttered. "I know." As Mason traced a circuit with his probe, the cube shivered. A spark leapt across the filaments, and for a moment, voices whispered through the workroom speakers. Not alien voices. Not static. Something else, low, steady, like chanting. Everyone froze. "What the hell was that?" one of the engineers whispered. Mason's pulse raced. A memory. A recording, maybe. But not from her. This was built long before her. He adjusted his tools, biting his lip. "Give me a minute." The cube suddenly flared with light. Blue lines raced across its surface, filling the workshop with a ghostly glow. The alien girl in the medbay stirred, her vitals spiking on the monitors. Her voice, weak but trembling, carried through the intercom. "You must stop." The crew exchanged nervous looks. Mason pressed on. The cube hissed, then the translator booted halfway. The display blinked on his screen, showing two language streams, one in her alien glyphs and another that none of them recognized. But Mason stared at the second stream, his breath catching. The symbols were sharp, angled. He had seen them before, not in alien databases, but in ancient human studies. Symbols carved on cave walls. Symbols whispered about in archaeological myths. "Impossible," he muttered. "What?" Rowan demanded. "This," Mason swallowed hard. "It's not alien. It's human. Old human. A language we don't even speak anymore." The crew stared at him in stunned silence. The alien girl suddenly gasped awake in the medbay, her violet eyes wide with fear. She sat up, clutching her chest, and through the half-repaired translator, her voice came through, fragmented, glitching between tongues. Lyra, not safe, you must not hear this. Her words broke apart, switching between her language and the ancient one. Each time the old tongue slipped through, the room seemed colder, heavier, as if the air itself bent under the weight of history. Rowan leaned toward the intercom. What do you mean, not safe? Lyra shook her head violently. Her hair clung to her cheeks. Forbidden, humans, must not, remember. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Mason's heart pounded. He leaned closer to the cube, pressing the reset. The device buzzed, then a new fragment scrolled across the screen. A phrase in the ancient language. He didn't know the words, but somehow, deep inside, he felt their meaning, the first one's rise. Chief, Mason whispered, his voice unsteady. This translator isn't just a tool. It's a lock. And I think I'm opening it. Rowan scowled. Then shut it down. But Mason shook his head. If this thing was made by humans, we have a right to know. Don't you see? Our history, it's buried in here. The room was tense, caught between fear and curiosity. Suddenly, Lyra's voice cut through, sharper now, her tone filled with panic. Stop. If you unlock it, they will hear you. Who? Rowan demanded. Her lips trembled. The ones your ancestors feared. The lights flickered. The cube pulsed again, stronger this time, and Mason saw another stream of symbols unfolding, like a map, or maybe coordinates. He couldn't look away. Lyra pressed her hands against the medbay glass, tears streaking her pale face. Please, you don't understand. That language is not dead. It sleeps. And if you speak it, the galaxy will wake. The crew shivered. A silence fell so heavy that even the machines seemed reluctant to break it. Mason whispered, barely audible, then why does it feel like I already know it? The cube hummed in response, like it had been waiting for him all along. The medbay was quiet, except for the faint hum of machines and the steady rhythm of Lyra's breathing. The translator cube rested on the workbench nearby, glowing faintly now, its blue lines pulsing like the beat of a hidden heart. Mason sat across from Lyra, his hands folded, eyes fixed on her. He wanted answers, but each time he opened his mouth, the weight of her earlier warning pressed down on him. Not safe. Humans must not remember. The words looped in his mind. Finally, Rowan broke the silence. She's stable. The translator's working halfway, at least. Let's try again. Mason tapped a control on the device. The cube hummed, and Lyra flinched as if the sound hurt her. Lyra, Mason said softly. Can you understand me now? Her eyes flicked to him, glowing faintly violet under the medbay lights. Through the translator, her voice came, fragmented but clearer than before. Yes. I hear you. But not safe. Not safe for me. Not safe for you. Mason leaned forward. What do you mean? Why isn't it safe? Her hands trembled. She touched the translator with a fingertip, as though it were a burning coal. Because this machine does not belong to my people. It belongs to yours. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Rowan folded his arms, face hard. That's impossible. Humans never made this. We've only been in the stars for 3 centuries. Lyra shook her head, her silver hair brushing her cheeks. No. You were here before. Long before. The translator crackled. For a moment, her words broke apart, shifting, glitching, and a single phrase escaped in the ancient tongue. The sound of it made Mason's stomach twist. It felt like a command, like a prayer. The cube translated a single word, remember. The medbay grew colder. Nobody spoke. Mason swallowed hard. Say that again. Lyra's eyes widened. No. You must not ask. Why? She looked around as though expecting something to crawl out of the shadows. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Because the old tongue carries power. Each word wakes echoes that should stay buried. If you hear too much, others will hear it too. Others? Rowan pressed. Her lips trembled. Hunters. Enemies your ancestors feared. They still wait. The crew exchanged uneasy looks. Mason's mind spun. How could humans have had enemies before recorded history? Unless everything they'd been taught about their past was a lie. He glanced at the cube again. The symbols still streamed faintly across its surface, shifting from her alien language to the old human one. The translation algorithm wasn't just bridging tongues, it was unlocking something hidden. The station's linguist, Dr. Sarah, arrived moments later. Her hands shook as Mason replayed the fragments the cube had recorded. The symbols scrolled across her screen, and color drained from her face. "This isn't possible," she whispered. "These markings, these are almost identical to carvings found on Earth. Symbols we dated at 40,000 years old." Rowan frowned. "That's before writing even existed." "Yes," Sarah said. Her voice cracked. "And yet here it is, alive, spoken by an alien girl from across the stars." Lyra clutched her head, her voice rising. "Stop. Stop this. You cannot read it. You cannot speak it. It is forbidden." The translator glitched, her words slipping back into the old tongue for just a heartbeat. "The first ones will rise." The cube pulsed brighter, and every monitor in the medbay flickered. For a moment, screens showed not medical charts but strange coordinates and star maps, scrawled in glowing lines. Then the images vanished as quickly as they appeared. The crew recoiled. Mason's heart pounded. He looked at Lyra. "You know something. What is this language? Why does your translator have it?" Her violet eyes brimmed with fear. She hesitated, then whispered, "Because my people found it. We did not make this device. We found it buried in ruins, deep in a dead world. The ruins did not belong to us. They belonged to the first ones, your kind." The words struck the crew like a hammer. Rowan shook his head. "No. No. Humanity never had space travel before now. We'd know. We'd remember." Lyra's voice broke. "Your people did. But their empire fell, long ago. They erased themselves, or were erased." Silence fell. The only sound was the faint, steady pulse of the cube. Mason leaned closer, his voice low. "If that's true, then why was the language hidden inside your translator?" Lyra's hands tightened on the blanket. "Because we were told never to let humans hear it. Never let you remember. It was the law. The last command left behind after your empire's fall." Her words chilled them. Rowan muttered, "Then why did you speak it?" Tears welled in her eyes. "Because your engineer touched the cube. It recognized him. It woke." Mason stared at her, stunned. "Recognized me? How?" Her gaze locked with his. "Because you carry their blood. You are their children." The crew drew back, the weight of her words sinking in. Suddenly, the lights across the station flickered again. The cube glowed brighter, its symbols racing faster now. Mason grabbed it, trying to shut it down, but the device refused to obey. On the screens, one final phrase appeared in the old tongue, glowing red. "They are listening." Lyra screamed. The medbay filled with static, a deep, resonant hum that rattled the walls. Mason clutched the cube tighter, heart hammering. For the first time, he felt not just curiosity but dread. Whatever they had unlocked, it wasn't just history. It was a warning. The medbay lights finally steadied, but the crew stood frozen. The cube still pulsed faintly in Mason's grip, as though alive, as though listening. Lyra sat trembling on the bed, her violet eyes locked on it like it was a predator waiting to strike. "They are listening," she had said. Those words clung to the air like smoke. Rowan broke the silence first, voice tight. "Enough. We need answers. Now." Lyra's lips trembled. She shook her head. "If I tell you, you'll wish you hadn't heard." Mason stepped closer. "We already heard enough. We need the truth. What's happening to us? What is this language? What are these first ones?" For a long moment, Lyra stayed silent. Her silver hair framed her face, hiding her expression. Then, slowly, she raised her head. "My people," she began, her voice low and shaking, "are not inventors. We are keepers. We inherit things left behind. We use them, but we do not question. We are warned not to." Rowan's eyes narrowed. "You mean that cube? That wasn't made by you?" She shook her head. No. It was found, long before I was born. Found in ruins, deep in the stone of a dead planet. We thought it belonged to some vanished species. But now, after hearing it respond to you, I know the truth. It belonged to you. The crew froze. Sarah, the linguist, whispered, to humans? Lyra nodded. The ruins were not alien. They were human. From an empire that ruled the stars thousands of years before your Earth remembers fire or wheels. The first ones. Your ancestors. The room filled with stunned silence. Mason's throat felt dry. That can't be. Humans never left Earth until 300 years ago. History is clear. Lyra's gaze sharpened. History is not clear. It is rewritten. Pieces erased. Wounds buried so deep that you believe they never happened. Your ancestors lived among the stars, yes, but they made enemies. Enemies that burned their empire down until nothing remained. Nothing but ruins and echoes. Rowan's face hardened. And who were these enemies? Lyra looked away. Hunters. Beings of shadow and silence. They hated what humans had built. They hated your strength. They swore that no human tongue would ever rise again. My people were told to keep you ignorant. To never let you awaken what was lost. Mason gripped the cube tighter. Then why does this translator carry the language? Her lips trembled. Because it was never a translator. Not truly. It is a key. A lock. And by repairing it, you have begun to turn it. The words hit Mason like a weight. He looked at the cube, the spirals etched into its sides, the pulsing light that seemed to follow his heartbeat. A key. Rowan muttered, so the word she spoke, the one we all felt, that wasn't a mistake. No, Lyra whispered. It was a word from your empire. A word with power. Every syllable of the old tongue carries weight. It is not just sound, it is memory, command, and call. When spoken, the galaxy hears. And others may answer. The room grew colder, as though unseen eyes watched them from the dark. Dr. Sarah leaned forward, her voice shaking. If that's true, then why did humanity forget? Why didn't we leave records, ships, anything? Lyra hesitated. Because the Empire chose silence over extinction. At the end, when their enemies closed in, they destroyed their own worlds. They erased their histories. They buried their weapons in stars, their cities in black holes. They hid themselves in the dust of forgotten planets. Only Earth remained, broken and ignorant, its memory wiped clean. The hunters thought you gone forever. Her voice cracked, trembling. And they would have been right, if you had not touched the cube. Mason felt his stomach twist. He remembered the word she had spoken in the docking bay, the one that had frozen them all. That word had not come from her. It had come from the cube, through her. Why me? He asked softly. Lyra looked at him with fear and sorrow. Because the cube knows your blood. It recognizes you as one of them. You carry the echo. You woke it. The crew exchanged fearful glances. The hum of the station suddenly felt louder, heavier, as if the void outside pressed against their walls. Rowan exhaled slowly, his voice cold. If this is true, then our history is a lie. We've been children stumbling in the dark, thinking we were first, when really, we're last. Sarah whispered, and if the hunters are still out there? Lyra closed her eyes. Then they will come for you. They always come. The cube pulsed brighter, as if in agreement. Mason stared at it, feeling the weight of destiny in his hands. Suddenly, the station's alarms blared. The room flashed red. Unidentified signal detected, the AI announced. Approaching from deep space. The crew rushed to the command deck. On the display, a faint signal pulsed across the void. It wasn't a ship, not yet. But it was vast, ancient, and moving closer. Lyra's face drained of color. She whispered one word, hunters. The crew stared at her, horrified. Rowan clenched his fists. Mason. Whatever that cube unlocked, it's calling them. Shut it down. Mason looked at the device in his hand, the glow painting his skin blue. For the first time, he felt the weight of history pressing down on him. The cube wasn't just a tool. It was a doorway. And he had opened it. The command deck of Outpost Vega 6 glowed with red emergency lights. Alarms wailed. On the central display, the signal pulsed steadily, a rhythm like a heartbeat echoing from deep space. It wasn't a random flare, nor a drifting rock. Something alive, or worse, was coming. Mason stood frozen at the console, the cube still in his hand. Its blue lines pulsed in perfect time with the approaching signal. The device wasn't just reacting, it was answering. Rowan's voice cut through the chaos. "Report. What's out there?" The navigation officer stammered, eyes wide. "Not a ship. At least, not one I've ever seen. It's enormous. Mass readings off the scale. Energy signature older than anything on record." Dr. Sarah whispered, "Older than us." The cube buzzed faintly in Mason's grip, almost like a whisper against his palm. He fought the urge to drop it. Lyra stumbled into the deck, pale and shaking. Her voice, through the half-working translator, was sharp with panic. "You called them. The hunters. They know where you are." Her words sent a chill through the room. Rowan pointed at her. "How close are they?" Lyra's eyes were wide, haunted. "Too close." The beacon inside the cube spoke their tongue. "They've waited for ages in silence, listening. Now they hear you." The officer cried out, object entering long-range scans. On the display, a massive shape appeared, a dark silhouette gliding through the void. Its edges shimmered like broken glass, bending starlight, devouring it. It didn't shine with thrusters or engines. It drifted, silent and slow, yet it crossed light-years in minutes. Mason's skin prickled. He whispered, "That's not possible." Lyra shuddered. "They don't move like ships. They consume the void. They fold it." The crew watched as smaller shapes emerged from the larger one, fanning out like hunting birds. Each moved with eerie precision, no signals, no lights, just shadows cutting through the dark. The station's AI chimed coldly, unidentified vessels approaching. Trajectory, intercept. Estimated contact in 1 hour. The room went silent. Rowan slammed his fist on the console. "Weapons online. Chief, this station wasn't built for combat." "I don't care. Arm everything we've got." Panels slid open. Turrets unfolded along the station's hull. But Mason knew, deep down, they were toys compared to what was coming. He looked at Lyra. "You said they destroyed the first human empire. How? With what?" She closed her eyes, her voice breaking. "With silence. They don't fire weapons. They erase. They strip worlds clean, as if nothing ever lived there." The crew stared at her, horrified. Rowan snapped, "Then how do we fight them?" Lyra met Mason's gaze. "With what your people left behind. If you can find it." Mason's grip tightened on the cube. "This thing has more coordinates hidden inside it, doesn't it? It's trying to show us where to go." The cube pulsed, as though agreeing. Suddenly, the display shifted on its own. The station's systems flickered, overridden by the cube's signal. A star map appeared, a dying star at the edge of known space, marked with a bright red symbol. Rowan growled, "What the hell is that?" Dr. Sarah's face paled. "A cache. A vault. Maybe, a weapon." Lyra's voice shook. "That is no refuge. That place is cursed. My people never dared to go there." Mason leaned closer. "Then that's exactly where we need to go." The deck erupted in shouts. Rowan snapped, "Are you insane? We have hunters at our door. We'll be lucky to last an hour, and you want to fly into some cursed graveyard?" Mason's voice was steady, his fear buried under resolve. "If we stay, we die. If we run blind, we die tired. But if that vault has weapons from the old human empire, it's our only chance." The crew looked at him, then at the approaching shadows on the display. Each second, the hunters drew closer. The Ari's voice cut through, enemy fleet accelerating. Estimated contact, 30 minutes. Rowan cursed. "Prep the jump drive. Plot a course to those coordinates." The navigator hesitated. "Chief, that system's unstable. The star's collapsing. No ships come back from there." "Plot it anyway." Rowan barked. Lyra clutched her head, whispering, "You don't understand. The hunters won't let you run. They follow the tongue. Once it's spoken, they chase it across the stars." Mason looked down at the cube, then at her. "Then maybe it's time to speak louder." Her eyes widened in horror. "Don't. Every word you unlock pulls them closer. If you speak too much, they won't just come for you. They'll come for all of humanity." The weight of her warning settled over the deck. But outside, the shadows closed in, their forms blotting out stars. Rowan gave the order, "All hands, brace for jump." The engines roared, the deck shuddered. The cube pulsed one last time, sending out a wave of light that rippled into space. On the display, the hunters turned sharply, every shadow shifting course toward Vega 6. They had heard. They were coming. Mason held the cube tight as the station prepared to leap. He whispered, almost to himself, "If our ancestors fought them once, then so can we." The cube answered with a faint hum, ancient symbols scrolling across its surface. Mason caught just one phrase before the screen cut out. "Protect your children." The jump drive engaged, tearing the station into the void. Behind them, the hunters followed. The jump tore Outpost Vega 6 across the stars. Space stretched, bent, and then spat the station out near a dying sun. The star glowed red and sickly, massive cracks of plasma tearing across its surface. Around it floated broken ships, shattered stations, and hollow husks of metal that drifted like ghosts. The crew gasped. The graveyard stretched for light minutes in every direction. Mason pressed against the glass of the viewport. "It's a battlefield." Dr. Sarah nodded slowly. "No, it's a tomb." Their scanners lit up with thousands of signatures. Not active ships, but wrecks. Destroyed long ago, still locked in silent formation as if frozen mid-war. And in the center of the graveyard floated a massive structure, cracked and scarred, yet still glowing faintly with blue light. A fortress. The cube in Mason's hand pulsed brighter, its lines shifting into a perfect map. The message was clear: "Go there." Rowan leaned forward. "That's it. The vault." Lyra hissed, clutching her translator, which flickered weakly. "You don't know what you're walking into. My people never touched this place. They say it burns those who seek it." Mason's jaw tightened. "Then we'll burn if we must. But we need what's in there." The navigator whispered, "Chief, the hunters, they're following." Everyone turned toward the display. Behind them, at the edge of the system, shadows unfolded from the void. The hunters had not lost their trail. Rowan growled, "Then we move now. Full thrusters, head for that fortress." The station engines roared, pulling them through the graveyard. Broken ships drifted past, their hulls scarred with ancient burns. Mason caught glimpses of human markings on some letters in Old English, faded flags of nations long gone. His chest tightened. "These were ours," he whispered. Dr. Sarah's voice was hushed. "The First Empire. Humanity's golden age. Wiped out, erased, and buried here." As they neared the fortress, the cube buzzed violently. Symbols spiraled faster across its surface. Then the fortress answered. Blue light streaked across its massive gates, awakening systems that had slept for millennia. The entire graveyard stirred. Ships long dead powered up faintly, their cores glowing with one last breath. Mason's heart pounded. "It's waiting for us." The fortress loomed larger until it filled the viewport. Its gates, kilometers high, opened with a grinding rumble that echoed through space. The crew fell silent. Inside, a single chamber glowed, a hangar big enough to hold Vega 6 itself. Rowan clenched his fists. "Bring us in." The station floated through the opening. As soon as they crossed the threshold, the gates sealed shut behind them. The noise of the outside graveyard faded. Inside, there was silence. The hangar lights flared to life, bathing them in a cold blue glow. Then, a voice. Not from the cube, not from the translator, but from the fortress itself. "Descendants. You return at last." The crew froze. Mason swallowed hard. "It's speaking." The voice reverberated through the deck, calm and deep, older than time. "You carry the key. You awaken what was buried. The hunters rise again. And so must you." Mason stepped forward, clutching the cube. What are you? Who built this? Your makers. Your ancestors. The first children of Earth who reached beyond the cradle. We faced the hunters and we fell. But we left behind a choice. The walls lit up with holograms, fleets of human warships battling shadowy hunter vessels, entire worlds burning, oceans turned black. Then, images of vaults being sealed, cubes being scattered across the stars. Dr. Sarah whispered, they knew they would lose. Yes, the voice replied. We bought time. For you. Mason's throat was dry. What choice did you leave us? The voice grew heavy, almost sorrowful. A weapon. But not of destruction, of memory. The hunters cannot be killed as you kill. They erase. They silence. But memory is their enemy. The more you remember, the less power they hold. For every name spoken, for every truth recalled, their silence cracks. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Rowan frowned. You're telling me stories fight these things? That's insane. The holograms shifted again. Humans stood in circles, chanting words, old languages burning bright as fire. The hunters shrieked and faltered, their forms breaking apart under the weight of voices. Lyra's face went pale. The old tongue. The language your people once spoke. That's why the cube frightens them. Mason felt the pieces click. When it broke, Lyra said a word that felt wrong. Familiar. That word wasn't hers. It was ours. The hunters fear it because it remembers. The fortress trembled suddenly. Warnings flared. The Ari's voice on Vega 6 shouted, hunters entering system interior, estimated arrival, 15 minutes. Rowan's face darkened. 15 minutes until we're erased. The ancient voice spoke again. Take what we left. Rekindle what was silenced. Your tongues, your stories, your unity, these are weapons greater than fire. Speak, and they will break. A massive chamber opened ahead, revealing rows of strange machines, half library, half arsenal. Thousands of cubes floated in stasis, each glowing faintly with ancient words. Dr. Sarah gasped. It's an archive. The lost language of the First Empire. The voice thundered one last time. But beware, once you begin, they will hear you. All of them. Across every star. The cube in Mason's hand flared so brightly it hurt his eyes. He felt the weight of it, like holding the future of humanity itself. Rowan looked at him. Well, engineer, do we open the box? Outside, the hunters closed in, their shadows spreading across the dying star. Mason took a breath. His voice steady, almost calm. Yes. Because silence isn't an option anymore. The fortress trembled as the hunters drew closer. Their shadows swallowed the dying star, blotting out its faint light. On the command deck of Vega 6, the crew watched in silence. The hunters didn't fire, didn't threaten, they simply came, erasing everything in their path. Mason held the cube tightly. Its glow pulsed with urgency, each flash quicker than the last. The vault around them hummed with energy, as if waiting for a choice. Rowan slammed his hand on the console. They'll be on top of us in 10 minutes. If this language of yours doesn't work, then we're all dead. Dr. Sarah's voice was trembling but sharp. It's not just language. It's memory. It's every word humanity ever spoke. Lyra stood near the wall, shaking her head. Her translator buzzed, spitting out broken words. You don't understand. If you awaken it, the hunters will hear you across the stars. They will come, not just these, but all of them. Mason's jaw tightened. Then let them. Humanity's been hiding long enough. The cube pulsed harder, then cracked open. Inside, a beam of light shot into the air, projecting words that twisted and shifted, symbols older than Earth itself. They burned into the air like fire. Mason stepped forward, his voice steady. He spoke the first word. It rolled through the vault, low and deep, vibrating in their bones. The crew shivered. Outside, the hunters flinched. Their perfect formations broke for a second, their shadows bending as if something invisible cut through them. Rowan's eyes widened. It worked. Mason spoke another word, louder this time. The hunters screamed. For the first time, Sound tore from their endless silence, a shriek that shook the station's hull. The fortress answered. Thousands of cubes floated out of stasis, glowing brighter. The walls pulsed with the rhythm of voices long gone. Holograms of humans, men, women, children appeared, speaking the old tongue in unison. Dr. Sarah fell to her knees. It's them. The First Empire, their memories. The hunters closed in, their vast forms pressing against the fortress. But with every word Mason spoke, they faltered. Their bodies twisted, breaking apart like smoke caught in the wind. Rowan barked, all hands. Join him. Speak whatever the cube shows. One by one, the crew began to speak. Their voices were shaky at first, then stronger. The vault responded, feeding them words, guiding them. The air vibrated with power as English blended with the old tongue, modern voices carrying ancient fire. Lyra cried out, "Stop. You'll call them all." Mason turned to her, his voice fierce. "Good. Let every hunter hear us. Let them know humanity remembers." He shouted the next phrase, and the holograms roared with him. For a heartbeat, the hunters froze completely. Their shadows shattered like glass, breaking into shards that scattered across the void. But more came. The sky outside filled with them, thousands, tens of thousands, drawn to the voice. Rowan's fists clenched. There's too many. The fortress itself began to shake, its ancient systems overloading. Lights flared. Cubes cracked open. It was as if the entire structure was giving its last strength to the humans inside. The deep voice of the fortress boomed one last time. Do not whisper. Do not hide. Speak, children of Earth. Speak until the void is full. Mason stood tall, his fear gone. He raised the cube high above his head. The symbols burned into his skin, glowing like fire. Then he shouted not just the words the cube gave him, but his own. We are humanity. We remember. The crew joined, their voices thundering together. Dr. Sarah screamed old words between sobs. Rowan's roar carried like a battle cry. Even the AI repeated the sounds, its synthetic tone merging with human voices. The fortress blazed. Every wreck in the graveyard lit up, ghost ships powering their cores one last time. Holograms of countless humans appeared across the battlefield, all speaking, all remembering. The hunters shrieked as if the universe itself betrayed them. Their silence cracked wide open. The shadows broke apart, peeling away in waves. One by one, they dissolved into nothing. The more the humans spoke, the weaker the hunters became. Mason's throat burned, his voice raw, but he didn't stop. None of them did. They poured out every word, every story, every name they had ever known. It wasn't just ancient language anymore, it was memory. The name of Earth. The names of lost cities. The names of every friend, every family, every life. The void filled with sound. And the hunters screamed their last. When it was over, silence returned, not the cold silence of erasure, but the heavy quiet of victory. The fortress dimmed. The cubes fell dark, their light spent. The holograms faded one by one, leaving only the living voices of Vega 6. Rowan leaned against the console, gasping. Are they gone? Dr. Sarah wiped her tears. For now. Maybe forever. Maybe not. But they heard us. And they broke. Lyra stood trembling, her translator crackling weakly. You don't understand what you've done. The hunters will never stop listening now. Mason looked at her, his voice hoarse but steady. Good. Then let them listen. Every word we speak, every story we tell, every life we live, they'll hear it. And they'll never silence us again. He turned toward the stars, the cube still warm in his hand. It was cracked, broken, but alive. Mason whispered, not in fear but in defiance. We are the children of Earth. And we will not be forgotten. The dying star flared behind him, bathing the fortress in red light. Humanity's voice had returned to the galaxy. And for the first time in millennia, the void was full.